Now this is a very special horse. What you're looking at, I'm at a Marsh Tacky farm. The Carolina Marsh Tacky is one of the rarest horse breeds in the world. There's about 400 of them. And me and my good friend David Grant, who's holding the camera right now, just got back from hunting. These horses hunt in the swamp, and they're always on soft terrain. Matter of fact, there are no rocks here in what's called the low country. How the horse hooves would naturally behave. Remember, the bottom of the horse hoof is self-regulating, just like the bottom of our foot. The only thing that's not self-regulating, that could be managed, is the hoof wall. Now remember, the hoof wall has two choices. One, it can grind down, kind of like your own fingernail could be against cement. Hold still, buddy. He's like, I want to be done. Or it can chip off. And they're a little overdue to be trimmed, and you can see some chipping. These are very healthy hooves. There's some chipping going on right here, but it's no big deal. These horses move a lot. They're in a pasture almost 40 acres, and they have to walk back and forth to get water. They're really moving a lot, and so it actually maintains itself pretty well. So your horse, again, it's going to grow up a little bit of a what we call laminar wedge, going to grow it up and let it chip off. If it's on rocks, it won't do that. It'll wear down on itself, but that's how even wild Mustangs are able to maintain their own feet. I'm inserting a picture of a Mustang hoof. It may take you a second to kind of get your bearings. As you're looking at this hoof, that center part is the frog. You can see the hoof wall going around. It's almost level, almost perfectly level with that sole. That looks like just the toughest hoof. And realize that was maintained naturally. How did it do it? Well, this one was on hard ground. We know that from the shape of it. This horse probably walked 20 miles a day, and it rounded the edges of the hoof wall. Now, if this same horse had been on, instead of rocky, hard, dry ground, it had been in a soft, wet, marshy ground, what you would see is where the hoof wall connects right there at the sole. We call that the white line. You'd see it would grow a little bit of what we call laminar wedge, a little bit of extra weaker material in there so that it could break off and chip. That's kind of what's happening with these Marsh Tackies. They're chipping. Our goal when we're trimming and filing and sanding whatnot the hoof wall, we're going to make it look more like a Mustang that's been on hard ground. It's the least amount of cracking and ugly looking chipping and whatnot when we do a hoof like that. But just so you can see the difference, people say, well, I want to do it so it's natural. Well, natural depends on what environment the horse is in. I also want to stress the key for a horse to maintain its own hoof would have to be lots and lots of movement. And I don't necessarily mean running circles in a very soft arena. It may take a little bit more pressure and movement than we would put on a regular basis on a horse. That's why, of course, we have to trim them ourselves. All right, so I have Southern Drifter here. Let's evaluate the bottom of his foot. Look, he's got a fairly small frog. It doesn't stick up much above the sole. Why would it? He's on soft ground. But look at this central sulcus. Very open. He's not going to get any infection here. This is great. This is a hoof that gets lots of movement. Now, in one of the videos I talked about the bars. You can really see his bars right here. Most farriers, again, they can do what they want. They would trim that down. Why would I do that? It is self-regulating. There has to be a reason why it's grown up a little bit. My philosophy, my theory is this has grown up just to give the support, extra support to this frog, which is a little bit smaller because it's in soft ground. Here's the sole. Look, it flakes off on its own. Don't need to do anything with this. It's like maintaining your own bottom of your own foot. All we've got to do is the toenail. So all I'm going to do is come along and trim this. Now his isn't really that big, so I'm going to use my toenail clippers, my nippers. Now I can either pinch his foot or I can just hold it. And remember, I'm just using the chaps to keep my legs clean. You don't have to have chaps. So I'm going to go around. I could just use the grinder, but I'll get extra dust that I don't necessarily want to get in my nose and eyes right now. Okay. That's all I need to do. Now, if you're doing this, and you can look, I didn't make it super even there. Not a big deal. You can't do this wrong unless you trim it too deep. It's like cutting your fingernails. You could leave your fingernails a little bit long, but boy, if you cut them too short, it would be very sensitive. You don't want to, hang on buddy, a lot of little flies here. You don't want to cut it too short. So if you accidentally, hey, you can see this is David Grant's horse, uncooperative. All right, there we go. If you accidentally nipped it way down here and made it kind of jagged, don't worry about it. You don't have to file it perfectly even. Just leave it. Now on this, I did it just the way I wanted. Just smooth it right out. And I'm going level with the sole. I'm going to get this heel just level with the sole right in here, and then I'm going to round it. That's all I need to do. That's it. Now, I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to go ahead and grab the angle grinder because I think you'll be more happy using the angle grinder in the long run. And I'm going to do this side. Okay, I notice I go around it, don't go over the frog, go around it. I'm pretty much done. Now, only thing I'm going to do is put the hoof up front, and I'm just going to round it a little bit. Remember, don't make the hoof wall super thin, you're just putting a little bit of a bull nose around it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little hoof stand, raise it up, I'm going to put his foot right here, and come along this side. I can either file it round like that, or I can take this that's it. There's nothing else to it. Everything else stays left alone. You just put a little bull nose. Done with that foot. Alright, we're going to do the back. I'm sweaty, he's sweaty. We just got back from a hunt. I'm going to remind you how we do the tail. Just take it and twist it. This is if you're going to use the angle grinder. I just twist it, no big deal. Make a little knot in it, just to keep it kind of out of the way. Now, get my hoof stand, my hoof pick. This is all the tools that I need. I'm going to raise his foot up, clean it out, and then decide what to do with the hoof wall. Again, look at this hoof. This is a good looking healthy hoof because he gets a lot of movement. Look at that frog. Big open spot. No place for thrush to be. This is a very healthy frog. Again, why would I take the callus off the frog and why would I take down this sole? It crumbles. It crumbles on his own. Don't touch it. His bar sticking up a little bit right there. Good. I'm going to leave it. All I'm going to do, I'm going to trim the toenail, sort of say. Take the nipper, go level, and those that are really good with the nippers, they can do like 95% of the job with the nippers. You're probably not going to be that good with the nippers to begin with. Don't worry about it. Just get it close. Don't go too far down. And that's it. I could use the nippers to go down a little bit more there, but no need. So I'll take one side again. I'm going to take the, see how it was kind of sticking, so I'm just going to use the smaller side of the file. I have a file that does both. Now I'm going to flip it around, use the bigger teeth. Feels a little better to do it like that. The back feet are really important that you round them in case they kick another horse. Less likely to cut them. His hoof wall is very soft. Again, it's adapted to its environment. Your horse, it may not go through it quite this easy. No big deal. And I'm just rounding it there. This side, Again, I don't normally do half and half. I'm just letting you see both opportunities. Here's where I wouldn't want the tail to get caught in there. I'm gonna level it out, round it. Looks pretty good. Heels are right. Followed the plane of the sole. Made it a little bit round. I didn't even put his hoof up on the stand this way. I just went underneath it. No big deal. All done. Good boy. Look at Simpson's hoof. Let's just give it a quick evaluation. Look at his frog. Nice open frog. No worry about thrush. He gets a lot of good movement in here. Again, why would I sand off the protective layer on this? It's self-regulating. Look at his bars. Now, I can only imagine the comments I'm going to get where most are just going to trim those bars right down. Oh, fine, if you want to do that, I just don't see a point. The bars are self-regulating. They'll crumble when it's time to crumble. Here, you look at the sole. It's good, it's tough, it's thick. It's ugly. What do I care what the bottom of his foot is that's going to be stepping in horse poo and dirt anyways? Why do I care if it's pretty? I want it to be tough. Now, the only thing I want to do is trim this nail. Now, again, you could pinch this between your knees or just set it on the hoof stand. Go right around. Just trying to keep it somewhat level. There. Now, I'm going to hit, just because the bar hits the wall right here, I'm going to take the wall down. A little bit of that bar is going to get chipped off with my nipper. That's fine. No big deal. But I'm not purposely doing much to that bar. Okay? Now, this is a big piece out here. I'm just going to chunk that off. Okay? Now, that looks pretty ugly. No big deal. Got my glasses on. Okay, you'll notice because the way I did the wall, I did hit a little bit of that bar. No big deal. I'm just not purposely taking a hoof knife and digging it out. Follow right along here. If you'll notice, here's kind of where the white line is. It's got a little bit more space because his hoof wall was chipping off there. It's just fine the way it is. Heels look pretty level. Looking this way, maybe take a little bit more off this one. Then I'm going to do the front and I'm done. Looks good. Followed the curve pretty well. Now I'm just going to round it up. Okay. See this little chip? I don't need to try to sand that off. Just leave it. Put a little bull nose on there. Good to go. On the next video, I'll review how it is you get a horse's hoof that's not healthy to become healthy, and even how to treat some of the more common problems you'll see yourself.